Hey, AEW All In was not the only wrestling show this Sunday. There was also an Impact Wrestling show, Emergence. There was also NWA 75. Side note, let's talk about NWA 75. Because as I sat down to record this, NWA 75 is over. EC3 is the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I took a peek. There's more people in the line in Chicken Shack than there is watching that show. So I get to tell you this. Tyrus sucks. He looks like a car who needs a new carburetor. He absolutely blows. EC3 is not good, but he's basically better than Tyrus. Hell, I'm better than Tyrus. Hell, a lubed up hippopotamus, as long as it's under the age of 10 years old, is younger than Tyrus. That show sucked, and I didn't watch it. I could just tell by the main event that it sucked. What else? If that was your top guy, what more you got? But at least I may actually watch Power now, because Tyrus has to retire after he lost that match, which is a big thumbs up, because who needs Tyrus? Nobody. But leave it to NWA to stink up the whole goddamn weekend. That being said, let's move on to what I'm actually here to talk about, which is Impact Wrestling's Emergence from somewhere in Canada. August 27, 2023. The women in main evented. Trinity versus Deonna Purrazzo was the main event. I have been following Impact a little. I missed the last episode of Impact. Again, my mom had surgery. She is doing very well. Thank you all for your well wishes. So she was doing good, and I kind of skipped, 2 or 3 days of wrestling and just tuned back in for All In. And then I watched Emergence too, because in between the time of AEW ending and Impact starting, that's when I recorded my All In review. So by the time I was done recording All In review, it was time for Emergence anyway, so I just threw it on and let that run. So let's get into this show. It was a show. It was a thing that occurred. Impact fans, I don't know how you did it. I don't know why you did it, but you did it. You were into that arena. It looked dark in there. All right. It absolutely looked like some kind of bondage fetish show. Like something sinister was going on there. Like there was a cult ritual going on in there. It looked dark. It looked candlelit in that building. I'm telling you, there couldn't have been a lot of people in there, if we're being honest. And it was striking. From when you go from watching All In, it was very well lit. The production was pretty solid. To go into Impact, I was like, my goodness, it's like watching high school basketball. What are they doing? But this company's been around for 20 years. Anyway, you could tell what was going on with Impact just by looking at the first match. Eric Young versus Diener. Oh my lord. It was matches like no holds barred or some nonsense like this. Eric Young. Let me tell you. Being friends with the boss really, really, really pays in the wrestling business. I mean, the nepotism that is just absolutely influencing wrestling these days. Scott D'Amore has really been pushing basically only the people that he's trained or the people that he knows, because there's no reason for you in 2023 to still have Eric Young on your roster. He really should go do something else with his life. I'm not even going to hold you up. He sucks. Diener is just bad. He's a bad pro wrestler. He's one of many bad pro wrestlers, but he ain't been around as long as Eric Young. He's nearly been there, but he ain't been around nearly as long as Eric Young. Eric Young's stink is all over Impact. It's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Of course, Eric Young wins this match. There was handcuffs involved at one point, in which Khan, the big guy, who I think was Connor or Victor of the Ascension, he was handcuffed to the bottom rope, but then somehow he still managed to get away, and then he ended up getting dropped on some barbed wire board by Eric Young. It was ridiculous. It was dumb. Eric Young wins the match. Good. I'm just glad it was over. I couldn't handle it. I really wanted to shut it off right now. I figured I got to push through it. I got to push through this. Then we get Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura during a backstage segment. I know that they've been doing a tag team thing. They did a tag team song. I think Joe Hendry did a song with Yuya Uemura. It's fun. Joe Hendry's a fun guy. Yuya Uemura is the kind of guy who keeps popping up all over the place. Nobody knows what to do with him. They just kind of let him show up and do stuff. Hopefully he's learning a lot. I haven't seen any growth from him, but he's there. He's present. He's part of Joe Hendry's gimmick now. I don't know. I guess it works. Joe Hendry needs somebody to play off of, and him being a bad influence on Yuya Uemura could be fun. All right, so they did an angle. I don't know if they did it on the pre-show. I don't know if they did it on the go-home show. But Taylor Wilde was injured backstage, and Kylan King needed a partner for the tag team championship match, and Santino Marella just randomly chose the first person he saw, which tends to be Jody Threat. So Jody Threat, who I thought was a babyface, now has to team with the heel Kylan King to challenge for the Knockouts tag team titles. The other opponents were Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans, as well as the Death Dolls, Jessica Courtney Rush, and the champions, Killer Kelly, Masha Slamovich, also known as MK Ultra. This was a fatal 4-way match. I struggled through this one too, y'all. I'm telling you. I like Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich win with a 2-person power driver, which is it's a power driver where like each one of them grabs like a leg or something like that and picks them up and kind of drops them on their head. It's pretty sweet. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I like the finish. I didn't care for this match though. It's just too many moving pieces. A lot of these people have been in this same spot forever. There's no growth. I mean, for heavens to Betsy, how long could we have Jessica and Rosemary, Courtney Rush in this same position? I mean, Savannah Evans has never won anything. How she's still employed is beyond me. Not that she's bad or terrible. I mean, she's not that great, but, you know, they're just keeping her around, I guess, for looks now. It's got to be to check a box or something, some description. All right, so the third match, I was like, oh boy, this could be fun. The Swing Man, Johnny Swinger versus Kenny King. Now, I like both of these guys. This is for the Digital Media Championship. Johnny Swinger beats Zicky Dice, and Zicky Dice was then booted over to Collision, where he ended up doing a job, I think, for Keith Lee. So now Zicky Dice left Impact, and Johnny Swinger turns babyface and was challenging Kenny King for the Digital Media title. Kenny King brings out his protege, Sheldon Jean, and together they kick the ass of Johnny Swinger, and Kenny King ends up winning the match. Swinger's never going to win a title, but he's a fun character, so he's funny. I don't know. This is the first time the Digital Media title has been defended on the show. Usually it's on the pre-show. So to put it on the actual show and for it to be Johnny Swinger is pretty crazy to me. They've had some pretty decently talented people that they put on the pre-show because Digital Media, YouTube, or whatever. But here they're like, you know what? We know it's a pay-per-view quality match. Johnny Swinger and Kenny King. I'm telling you, you need to fire Scott D'Amore, bro. Like, he needs to be fired. Like, unemployed and out of a cannon into the Atlantic Ocean. After the match, Kenny King jumped Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer was out there because he was trying to help Johnny Swinger, who was getting his ass beat by Sheldon Jean and Kenny King. And I'm guessing they're about to pull an ECW thing where Tommy Dreamer knows Swinger from ECW and they're best buds from there and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't understand why Tommy Dreamer still wrestles. I don't understand why like half the people on this roster is still wrestling. I mean, I just look at this roster and say, my God, please give it up. You know, Eric Young is just like the first guy. Please give it up. You know, there's just so many. Just we better off without you. The next match, however, was quite good. I mean, they overbooked it, but it was quite good. Subculture versus the Rascals for the Impact Tag Team Championship. Easily best match on the show. Easily. Two hungry tag teams. You know, the Rascals have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, as there have been guys who've been here before, and they've been cheating their way through a tag team tournament to get to this spot. They have been, you know, spray painting people's faces and screwing them over. So they try to do this here and spray paint Subculture in the face. ABC, it's Austin Bay Club. They showed up. The Good Hands fought them off. The Good Hands are sort of the goons for the Rascals. And the Rascals end up winning. They end up winning the match with a stomp, somewhat kind of like a burning hammer kind of finish. So it looked nasty. But it was a good finish for this match. So the Rascals have won the tag team titles. That's fun. That's good. This is what Impact should be. As much as I'm kind of like on the fence about subculture, they have good, solid tag team matches. You know, tag team wrestling these days has become a lot of high-flying, fast-paced, quick tags, combination moves, stuff like that. So these teams epitomize the next elevated version of tag team wrestling without the ego of like the Young Bucks or FTR, or without the forced push of like Top Flight or somebody like that. They just kind of have that style, but they're hungry because they haven't been seen everywhere. They haven't been exposed too much, and so it's pure almost. But they did overbook it by having all the run-ins and all this kind of stuff, which I wish they hadn't done. But other than that, this was solid. This was probably the one thing on the show that I was like, legit, very good. Next match is definitely, they should have gave it up. Frankie Kazarian versus Eddie Edwards in a back-to-school match. Since this storyline has been going on for months now. Months. The story is that these two were trained together in Killer Kowalski's school, and now they're fighting over each other's legacies, their own families. They've hit each other. They've wrestled 100 matches. None of them were any good as far as I was concerned. Kaz is burnt. Eddie Edwards is beyond burnt. I mean, that guy is just absolute roadkill at this point. They should have released Eddie Edwards years ago. My goodness. I'm telling you, Impact has probably been the single greatest reason why AEW blew up, is that Impact refuses to actually get new top talent. I mean, the inability of Impact to be able to recruit, bring in, and retain top talent is the reason AEW is where it is. If they had any eye for talent, guys like Eddie Edwards wouldn't have been around so long. He'd be doing jobs, putting people over, and that would be it. That would be it. But no, he keeps getting featured in big spots. He won the title as recently as last year, I believe, or 2 years ago, maybe. Same thing with Eric Young. It's ridiculous. It's like, bro, no, you have too many decent to good young guys who are stuck in the tag team division. They've been stuck there forever. It's time to start moving some of those guys up. But no, we have to waste, I don't know how many minutes on Kazarian and Eddie Edwards again. Now they're fighting in Killer Kowalski's school. That's the back to school spot. And that's where the cinematic element comes in. Because the match was filmed inside of Killer Kowalski's school, where Kazarian has a shrine to Killer Kowalski. Which I guess if you're going to have a Killer Kowalski shrine, it should be in the hallway or in the locker room of his school, I guess. So they start yelling. Eddie Edwards is very angry that Kazarian hit his wife with a kendo stick. It was by accident because Alicia was being very annoying. And you know what? I actually popped when that happened because Alicia is very annoying. She sucks. So when she got hit with the kendo stick, I was like, that's great. Maybe she'll be written off TV for a while. Nope. She was back the next week. Damn. Anyway, they went out there. They got into one of these training rings. They wrestled a match. Eddie Edwards won the match. Alicia Edwards, she distracted Kazarian by yelling at him, and Eddie ended up winning. After the match, Eddie says that Kazarian is a disappointment to Killer Kowalski, or they call him Walter. He's a disappointment to himself. He's a disappointment to everybody, and they smashed some glass over his head. Since feuds very, very rarely end with the heel humiliating the babyface and, leaving him laying in a pool of his own piss, this thing is not over. Are they going to engage in a forever feud? I mean, how about the winner gets fired and the loser gets shredded? We might actually benefit for getting rid of these dinosaurs. I think I've been saying this every single pay-per-view that I've reviewed that has been an Impact pay-per-view. One of the biggest issues has been the roster. They don't have anybody interesting on these fucking shows. It's the same fucking people all the time. They need to get rid of some of these motherfuckers. Eddie Edwards is top of the goddamn list. He's got to go. Frankie Kazarian was at least in AEW for a little while and came back. But my goodness, this sucks. I mean, imagine you actually pay money to get into Emergence, this fucking show. And they decided, It's movie time. We're gonna pull out all the. He gonna have the little kids push a TV out there with a videotape, and you're gonna watch Eddie Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian on TV as a collective. What? Why? I don't want to watch them live. I certainly don't want to watch them through my TV screen. And I'm pretty sure a bunch of other people agree. That's why nobody watches fucking Impact. Poor Impact. Hey, Zeus in heaven. Scott D'Amore, you're an egg-sucking dog. Your mother's a whore. Anyway, match 6, Jake Something versus Sonata. Interesting match. This match is actually non-title. It was basically just thrown together because they wanted to have Sonata on the card because their world title is not being defended. And I thought that's why Sonata was going to be here, is because the world title wasn't going to be defended. They needed a sort of male main event talent because they wrapped all their main event guys in an 8-man tag, which was dumb, but whatever. Instead, they made the match non-title, and Sonata still beat Jake Something. The match was fine. Very, very predictable. So that was not the cool part. Jake Something, I don't know what the point of him coming back was. What did he come back for? His booking hasn't changed very much. You know, last time he was there, he was a jobber to the stars, and he seems to be right back in that role. I can't believe Eddie Edwards and Kazarian was a featured match on this show. What are they thinking? Why do they insist on punishing Impact fans? People who are actually holding on, trying to give you money. And your idea is like, hey guys, we're going to do another Kazarian and Eddie Edwards match. How much do you love those? And everybody's like, please stop doing that. And they're like, no. Nope. We think not. We think you want this. And then they throw it in your face again. I don't know. All right, the 7th match on the show. Moose, Brian Myers, Bully Ray, and Leo Rush versus Josh Alexander, Kushida, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin. This match was an 8-man tag for virtually no reason. We still using Bully Ray. He's over the hill. You know, at least he's trying to work with other people and trying to help get them over. But it's the same problem with using Tommy Dreamer, the same problem with using Eric Young, the same problem with using Frankie Kazarian, the same problem using Eddie Edwards. It's just that people have seen this guy for a decade or more. It's time for some new fucking blood. There's a lot of, new guys on the NWA that's very, very unfortunate because Tyrus is at the top of the card and nobody wants to watch the show if he's on it. So they're not seeing some of the other people who are on the show who might be pretty good, especially some of the women, because Billy Corgan is taking risks. I mean, he's trying to bring in new talent. Impact is just trying to sign up as much bums from the early 2000s as they possibly can. So Moose, who's magically still there, I don't have no idea why you hire Moose. Why would you still have Brian Myers on your roster? Like, what does he bring? What are you getting from Brian Myers that you couldn't have gotten from literally anybody else that you could spend some money on? I mean, really, is it the fact that he's probably so cheap that he shows up and you pay him whatever you can? He gets paid in pretzels with no salt, He gets a tip of butter or like a little cup of butter if he does good. Like, what the hell is the point in signing this fucking guy? What the hell is he here for? He doesn't entice people to watch your show. So, Leo Rush is great. He's been around for a long time, but Leo Rush is one of those guys that you've seen him all the time, but you've never seen him really get a run. Because, Leo Rush doesn't linger. He gets in, he darts around for a little bit, wins the title, defends the title, loses it, he's gone. That's usually it. So you don't get tired of seeing him. But that other side of the board, Chris Sabin, been there forever. Alex Shelley, been there forever. Kushida, been in and out of there forever. Josh Alexander ain't been there forever, but it feels like it. So, even though, Josh Alexander was injured for a long time too, again, it feels like he never left. I mean, this guy is tea with no sugar. He's just hot water. It's nothing. I don't get it. I don't get the love for Josh Alexander. And I don't care that they're in Canada. Don't give a shit. Just don't understand the appeal of this guy. Apparently PCO, who's another goddamn dinosaur that they keep hiring, he is haunting Bully Ray. He's been attacking Bully Ray on the shows, showing up, trying to kill him. Tried to kill him in this match too, tried to chokeslam him off the stage. But he ended up getting fought off. Steve Macklin made his return too. He ended up fighting with Josh Alexander before he also got removed by security. Alex Shelley, he also had a little bit of a tiff with Josh Alexander, considering they were partners. This was very important. Alex Shelley bailed on the team. You know, he looked at the landscape of this thing and was like, you know what? Not a big fan of this Josh Alexander guy. He wants to win my title. He also is in my face all the time. I'm out of here. So he takes off. He leaves. And Josh Alexander gets pinned by Moose with a spear. And I was like, oh, brother, you have to pretend Moose is good again. I'm not going to do that. Not going to pretend Moose is good. He's been around forever. Get rid of him. I'm not saying to fire everybody. I'm just saying you need more fresh talent. Moose is not, obviously, he's not going to be the guy. You know, he's obviously not there. I get it. He's an Impact guy, whatever. But the big issue here is we cannot keep bringing in guys for one shots here and there. Oh, we're going to bring in Sonata for this. We're going to bring in Will Ospreay. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And we're going to still populate our show with Brian Myers and Bully Ray. They do a better job of storytelling. Don't get me wrong. They actually try to make Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards interesting by creating a story around them. That's a good attempt. But there's still also rants that nobody's enticed to see. You know, take that same interest and give it to some young dudes who might be able to, or even some young girls, if that's the way it's going to be, and try to make them interesting. Try to become a destination for those talents. Like, why do you insist on, why must it be Brian Myers? Like, why? I don't know. So, speaking of being around forever, wait, let's back up a little bit. It seems like they're going to turn Alex Shelley heel for the feud with Josh Alexander. That seems to be where they're going to go with this. I think that's probably the right move, because Josh Alexander I'm thinking Bound for Glory is in Canada somewhere. So it might work out, and he's considered a babyface where you are. Also, he never lost the title. He was stripped of the title. So that is a little bit of sympathy in his story. So turning Alex Shelley, while not, the best idea, is probably the most feasible one in terms of actually creating a narrative on your show that might be interesting. But Alex Shelley, again, is a guy who's been around forever. If he wasn't the guy 10 years ago, he's probably not going to be the guy now. And guys becoming world champion because other guys left and other guys took off and other guys left, or, whatever. Or you decide that guys retired or something like that. Just doesn't seem to make much sense to me. But, that's what the situation that we're stuck in. Now we get to move on. Jordynne Grace is back already. She was gone for about a month. So that was about it. There was much ballyhoo about her leaving and what her future might entail and all this sort of stuff. And now it turns out she's coming right back. I guess AEW wasn't interested. I guess WWE wasn't interested. Why else would she leave Impact after all this time and just turn around and come back? She apparently is going to be working whatever White Plains show, which I think is Impact 1000, which is actually a show I'm looking forward to. They announced that Devon Dudley would be wrestling on that show. I don't know why he's wrestling on that show, but they announced that he will be. And apparently Jordynne Grace will be in the building as well. There's going to be some others. They're going to do a lot of big reunion stuff, callback stuff like this. That's very nice. And I know people love reunion shows, but how about we focus on the future? This is the one wrestling promotion, I think, that has absolutely no thumbprint on the future. There's nobody on this roster that is positioned, under the age of 40 to be considered a real main event talent. And it's very unfortunate. People who have not been around forever. Again, I've been talking about, Trey Miguel, who's been in Impact for a long time. never allowed to get beyond mid-card status. Ace Austin, Chris Bay, been talking about those guys. There's some other people on the independents that I've said, hey, if you're looking to have some regular talent move on, come in and, start to churn this thing around. I know you're competing with AEW, but AEW can't sign everybody, man. There's probably some guys who are doing jobs in AEW right now that you probably could scoop them up for a dream. And just, if you give them a push, they might want to stick with you because at least they're going to raise their position rather than do jobs in, Ring of Honor or whatever. But in Impact, they're just doing their thing. So now they're going to have Impact 1000, which will be an episode of the show I will watch. I don't know if it's going to be live or not. I still intend to watch it, but I don't know how many. I don't care about Impact doing reunions. It's like an Impact reunion every time I watch Raw or fucking AEW anyway. There's a bunch of guys from fucking Impact on there already. So the main event of the evening was all women's everything. Trinity versus Deonna Purrazzo, with a female ring announcer, female referee, and Gail Kim joining the commentary team to make sure that this is a women's main event. It's like, look, this is first off, it's not the first women's main event. Secondly, it's probably not going to be the only one. Do we have to make a big show of all women being in this particular scene? What next? We're going to move all the men to the back and bring all the female fans up to the front so that we will know that all women are involved with this. It's like, come on, man. We should be beyond, especially Impact, who claim they're the spearhead of the women's revolution. We were doing this before WWE, yada, yada, yada. Why are you still in these boring ass displays of, we got to have women everywhere? You're supposed to be beyond that already. These boring displays of virtue signaling is for like WWE or AEW, who are under constant attack for how they treat their women's divisions. Nobody cares and nobody complains. I think I said that word by mistake. I should have said complaint. I said nobody cares. But there's nobody complaining about how Impact portrays the women. Nobody complains about that. So why do you feel the need to virtue signal? You could have just put on this as the main event because, well, the women's world title is a world title. And since the men's world title is not on the line, and the women's are, the women will. The main event. All right, you could set that standard, and that will be fine. But we had to have female referee, female ring announcer, female commentary. And I'm like, oh my God. This is way overboard. They end up having a match. Deonna Purrazzo was good. Trinity is also good. So they had a solid match. I think their previous match was probably a little bit better. But this one was solid too. And Trinity ends up winning with the Starstruck, which is submission hold. And it was okay, I guess. Trinity's super babyface, pandering with the Canadian flag in her hair. It's ridiculous. I don't know why she did that, but she's a super babyface, so I guess it works out. All right, at the end of the show, they started talking about Bound for Glory, and then they showed a video for Will Ospreay, saying that he will be returning to Impact. Will Ospreay, fresh off of his victory over Chris Jericho, is going to now go to the doldrums of Impact. To do what exactly? Look, instead of spending money on Will Ospreay, which, no doubt is probably a sizable chunk of change, you probably could have taken that and invested in some fucking young talent. Look, I don't have a problem with Impact wanting to use some of the same guys AEW is using, or some of the same guys other promotions are using. I don't have a problem with that. But when your main event and people peek into your show and it's Bully Ray, who's 50, over 50, Tommy Dreamer, who's over 50, Kaz, who's almost 50, Eddie Edwards, who's almost 50, Moose is over the age of 40, Alex Shelley, who's over the age of 40, Chris Sabin, who's over the age of 40, for fuck's sake, PCO is 60, like all of these, Eric Young is 50. How many of these people am I talking about that was featured on this show that are old as fuck? Like, who in the world is going to watch this show and say, I want to see that guy? Yes, you got, again, I've mentioned these guys before. Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, the Subculture guys, they're fairly young. They've been around for a while, but they're fairly young. Some of the girls, been around for a while, seasoned, fairly young. They're not old. They haven't been there forever. It's not like, oh, this guy's still doing this thing again. You know, Tommy Dreamer, the eternal babyface, is, you know, doing ECW shit one more time. You know, Bully Ray is still there, you know, doing this and doing this. It's like, oh, God. If you want to do something with Impact 1000 or Bound for Glory, for fuck's sake, do something different. Start being like, you have to start gambling. You know, that was the one thing I talked about. I believe I talked about Tony Khan. I called him a gambler. He takes risks, you know, and Impact doesn't take any fucking risks. This company is far too conservative. Far too conservative. You know, they need to get out of the, this is a sure shot guy who has a fan base and, you know, he just wants to work in his spare time when he's not doing something else. It's like, no, get you some fucking full-time wrestlers, some people who really want to do this and might have a fresh take on the business. Yes, they may suck. They may not be very good right now, but give them some time, give them some space, let them do their thing. Instead of trying to get people to watch fucking Kazarian matches, forcing people to watch fucking Bully Ray matches. It's so, what is the point? You know, what is the point really? Even WWE takes more chances and they're conservative as fuck because it's a publicly traded company. And even they are willing to take chances on new talent more than Impact is. You know? I don't even know when the last time Impact has really tried with a new world champion. Outside of Josh Alexander. He was like the only one. And he's a Scott D'Amore student. But then it was like, you know, I guess Rich Swann. I guess. And he sucked. But, you know, it happens. You know, the guy sucked. Tessa Blanchard, they tried with her. She sucks. But, I mean, she was actually pretty good, but she was wrestling men, and, you know, there was a thing about that or whatever. Brian Cage, they tried. He sucks. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But you try things. You try people, and you see what you can get out of it, you know? Instead of, well, we're just going to throw these same retreads out there, and people are going to be like, I've seen this shit already. I've seen everything Tommy Dreamer could ever do. There is nothing Tommy Dreamer is going to be able to do that's going to make me interested in watching him in 2023. Sorry. Same thing with Bully Ray. Same thing with Moose. Same thing with Brian Myers. Same thing with Kazarian. Same thing with Eddie Edwards. Why are these people eating up so much time on your show? Get them the fuck out of here or use them as special attractions and that's it. Replenish your talent. Impact fans, you have to put pressure on Scott D'Amore to replenish the talent roster here. This talent roster is stale as fuck. It's like going to a grocery store and everything is fucking expired. This sucks. That's why I don't review Impact every week. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.